All right, it's 7:31, and we're calling the July 23rd meeting of Darien TV79 to order. First is to approve the minutes. I got a couple of edits back from the last set of minutes. Anyone have any question on the minutes?
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Approved. Thank you. We have a new member to welcome tonight, although he's not formally been approved by the Board of Selectmen yet. We want to thank Sean Cavello for his years of service on the Darien TV79 TV Advisory Committee. He has moved to North Carolina, but we're very lucky to add Al Briganti to our committee. Al, do you want to give a quick summary of your media life?
Okay, thank you. It's really great to be on this. I think that what you guys do is a real service to the town, and it's something special that helps make Darien special. I was thinking before we started this, I guess I've been in broadcast radio or television for more than 50 years. I'm now retired. Most of my career was at CBS, beginning at Channel 2, the local station, where I worked with Jim Jensen and had the fortune to travel around the world with Jim. It was quite an experience. That's when local stations had a lot of money. And then I worked at the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. I helped start 48 Hours, where when I left CBS, I was their executive editor. So it was a long and terrific career, and I think it was the golden age. Those were the good days when there was money and a lot of people to do the work. I think it's a little tougher now.
Well,
anyway, I
nice
hope I can bring something.
It's nice those Emmys up there on the top shelf.
Okay.
Those look very nice. Jim, Jim, I have it on the view you want, don't you? I don't understand the message you're sending me.
Are you on speaker view?
Yeah, it's on speaker.
Okay, great.
Yeah. All right. So welcome, Al, and hopefully you will have your meeting with the Board of Selectmen. So I don't think we're voting on anything tonight. You just can't vote, but you certainly can fully participate.
Okay.
So let's go ahead to programming.
Hey, Mike,
Jim?
before we do that, would you like the other members to introduce themselves to Al so he knows who they are?
Sure. Let me go back to gallery. Robert?
Hi, I'm Bob Flynn. I was the director of IT for New Vans Health for the last 10, 12 years, and I've retired and now play on the boats and in the water.
Dennis?
Hi, I'm Dennis Cummings. I'm a history teacher at the high school, father of 3, and I'm a big fan of public service.
Carrie? You're muted, Carrie. There you go. You're still muted.
How's that?
There you go. Now you're set. Now you're set.
Hey there, I'm Carrie Wysocki, 40 plus years in broadcasting, the last 27 or so with MSNBC, director of production. Welcome, Al.
Thank you.
And our Chief Technology Officer, Cecil Wade. You're muted too, Cecil. I'd hate to add up all the years in media and technology that this group has. It would be frightening. Go ahead, Cecil.
My mouse wouldn't work for some reason. Anyway, it works now. Hi, I'm Cecil Wade. I was a longtime resident of Darien, and I have subsequently moved to Norwalk, but have continued to provide technical support to TV79 and especially the website.
So
he
with
designed
those
it and built it, by the way, too. So
he did. That's right.
Homegrown.
So with that done, let me switch to the speaker view, and Jim, bring us up to date on programming.
Programming continues apace. We did our first recording session today for our newest show, Ask the First Selectman, and knocked out 13 different questions which have been submitted by viewers. I was actually very pleased and surprised there were as many questions as came through, and once the show hits, I imagine there's going to be more. Each show runs about 3.5, 4 minutes long, and what I did was I gave John Zagrodzky the topic of the question, not the verbatim question, but the topic, so he could do some prep if he needed to, and then I asked the question verbatim. Most of them have been asked anonymously. Some of them have been asked with attribution and names or some sort of veiled description. So that's Ask the First Selectman. Other programming news. We're entering our quiet period for candidates. 60 days prior to an election, we do not do any interviews with people who are running for office outside of coverage in the way they normally conduct business. So it's not a municipal election year except for RTM, so I don't think it'll present much of a problem as it does in some other years. Our first DHS intern finished her studies and is still continuing to shoot for us over vacation period. While she's on vacation, she's going off to BC in the fall. And we're losing a bunch of some of our more senior videographers. Lisa Diamond has moved upstate with her family, but she's still going to be my backup as program director if I'm not available, because she can do most of the work on the Castus remotely. She's edit shows and upload them as well too. Ellie, also known as Venatrix, is going off to Hunter College, so we're losing her. And I think we're probably going to lose someone else as well too, if we haven't already. So new people coming in for training. We have 2 new trainees, one from NCC, one of them the son of a former member of the Board of Education, who cornered me at a party and said, you looking to hire anyone at TV79? And I said, yeah, sure. So his name is Jack, his last name Whittier. And he got me a resume in about, 5 minutes, and filled out the paperwork and is just about finished all of his necessary training. So he'll be ready to fly solo. I can't think of anything. Oh yeah, one other thing that
timestamps.
Thank you. I was just going to mention that as well too. The first selectmen, when they meet on a quarterly basis, are now doing something a little bit different than they have in the past in terms of having department heads speak. I have to show up because we get a budget from a very small budget from the Board of Selectmen. So I was mentioning, one of the things that JZ, John Zagrodzky, wants is he wants to know what's going on in the industry. What are the industry trends you're dealing with? So as I've said in the last couple of these, industry trend, cord cutting. People are not watching us on cable anymore. They might be watching us on YouTube or Facebook, but mostly I think they're relying on on-demand replay via the website to watch the meetings that they are interested in. One of the things that we're doing to try to expedite access to lengthy meetings and the parts of meetings you might be interested in are time-stamped agendas. The Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Finance have been doing this for us. Thank you very much for a couple of years now. And I thought that by holding them up as an example to other boards and commissions, they would follow suit. No such luck. Not even the Board of Selectmen has tried to keep up with the pace that they're setting. So what we did was I incorporated into the budget request for this fiscal year, which started July 1st, a small pay increase for our camera operators. They're going to go from $30 an hour to $35 an hour. They haven't had a pay increase in 6 years. It's well-deserved, but the flip side of the pay increase is the camera operators are going to be responsible for doing time-stamped agendas. And that's pretty much an easy process during a meeting. You just set your timer at 0000 at the beginning of the meeting, and as each agenda item comes up, you just note the time. So we include that in the Vimeo, which means that if you're looking at the meeting on the website or directly on Vimeo, you can see exactly where the item on the agenda that you were interested in is coming up and access it directly.
Hey, Jim, can I ask a question?
Yeah, by all means.
Does that, this is so self-serving, but does that mean that I no longer need to put timestamps in the minutes?
Well, because we're not, we don't have a camera operator doing this. If we're doing a Zoom meeting, that would be very helpful.
Okay, got
Really
it.
appreciate
I
that,
mean,
Dennis.
I'm happy to do it. I don't
No,
want
no.
a camera operator to be like, well, this man's taking my job.
No, we're Mike's the camera operator, and he doesn't do timestamps or Windows. Doesn't do Windows.
Got it. Then they're, as I'm going through, they're in there for you.
Thank you. Another thing we're looking at, and Mike's going to talk more about this in a moment, is we got part of our grant from Area 9 Cable Council is going to be used to purchase some AI software. Although I discovered, or Mike discovered, that Vimeo is offering an AI summary of meetings with thumbnails. Well, first of all, a summary at the top, thumbnails of various items that came up during the meeting, and a brief description of what they were. And you can click on those, and it will take you directly to that part of the meeting. Now, how we can, because we receive that by email, how we can import that and use that and attach it to the videos, I'm not sure. But I shared last night's Great Island Advisory Committee meeting with Monica, the chair of that body, and with John Zagrodzky and Mike, and said, you were at that meeting. How does this look? Is this accurate? Because that's my big concern, obviously, about AI, that it's not hallucinating and saying things that are not accurate. Monica basically said, I want to talk to you about this. So I think there's a little reticence on some people's parts about these AI summaries, but Mike can talk a little bit more about what his thoughts are. Is there a separate line item? I don't have the agenda about budget. Mike?
Yeah, that comes after technology.
Great. I'll let you. That's all I have in terms of programming, unless I've missed anything you can think of.
All right. So technology, hold on, let me switch to view. The technology, the auditorium is done. For some reason, I'm not coming up on the, and they had the first planning and zoning meeting last week. And Jim, you want to give I saw it when it was under construction. I haven't seen it since it's finished. Some of the things that we're going to be following up with on a meeting on Thursday.
We had training with the vendors and our consultants in the auditorium. Excuse me. Lois was there on behalf of the RTM Technology Committee. That auditorium PA system was not on its last legs. It was just crawling to the grave. And I was deadly afraid that the whole thing was just going to collapse in a heap right in the middle of an important RTM meeting. It did not. It survived that process. It has now been replaced with a really impressive state-of-the-art PA system, individual gooseneck microphones, 12 of them, mounted into the tables, although they're removable, but the mounts are in the tables themselves. Rear projection for PowerPoint or Zoom. A confidence monitor mounted on the edge of the balcony facing the podium. As people speak, they can look up and see if they're making a PowerPoint presentation, they don't have to turn around and look at the screen. It's right there in front of them as well, too. Some other bells and whistles. I can't remember all the particulars, but this was all purchased, and we got to be thankful to John Zagrodzky, because he was the chair of the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Advisory Committee, and he earmarked $95,000. What was it? It was a huge amount of money for this particular project. But it means we're going to be able to do, Mike's looking forward to this, hybrid RTM meetings or other meetings, hybrid nature as well too. But it's really going to enhance TV79's coverage, because previously, if somebody was coming to make a PowerPoint presentation at an RTM meeting, we had to get a thumb drive of that presentation from them before the meeting so we could try to show it in the booth and sync it up. We're going to get, as we have from room 206, we're going to get a direct feed. Anybody who's showing something in the auditorium, we will have a direct feed into the booth. We will also have better access to audio. The audio can either, we can adjust the audio on any one of those 12 microphones ourselves, or we can leave it on automatic gain control. The first meeting that was held last week, I did not attend, and we did not cover using that technology because we had 3 meetings simultaneously and we could only record 2 on the Castus. So we recorded it with a portable camera. But the people who were there said there were some problems with the very directional nature of the microphone. And the vendor is now looking for a microphone that's got a little bigger response pattern, because it was at the point where people were, with this microphone, we're just literally talking and moving on. Like, it was that directional. There were also some volume problems. Even though the door to the auditorium balcony was closed, they could hear it in 206 in the middle of their meeting. So they're going to have to take a look at that. Lois observed that the PowerPoint looked a little fuzzy to her, and I'm sure that's going to be something that could be, adjusted as well too. Maybe tuning the controls on the rear projection video. But I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a wonderful addition, especially to big groups like RTM that meet in the auditorium.
And so we have a meeting Thursday to go over some of the particulars, to switch out the mics and some of the other things that went right. So it's going to take some time. But the other advantage of being able for the RTM meetings, it's not as much to do a hybrid RTM meeting, but if there's a town employee who lives 45 minutes away, he or she can go home and do their presentation to the RTM on hybrid and not have to wait around until 9 o'clock to head home and then come back. So it'll make it easier for them. Okay, Jim, I got to take you out of the spotlight. Hold on a minute. The AI I have, I'm trying to before I spend the money that we have. Jim, I don't know why you keep coming up in view. I've taken out the highlights. All of it when I'm talking, I'll stay in gallery, but go back to you when you're talking. Right now I'm testing Fireflies, Merlin, Node GPT. The hard part is finding one that doesn't have a limit on how long a transcript could be, because the the department heads meeting today was 2 hours and 9 minutes, and so I'm going to be testing some of the free trials to make sure that I can input in an entire transcript. Then it's working with Cecil to figure out what we do with it. Do we cut and paste it in the agenda space? One, we got to find out what's the best and how accurate they are, and does it need an editor to look at it? I assume an editor, and our idea is to work with the clerks of the various committees who have to file the minutes to be able to read over the AI transcript to see if it's, or summary, to see if it's successful. The transcripts are easy. It's the summary, and some of them are just exquisite in terms of the quality. It's just finding one that can absorb an entire meeting. Now we're going to budget, Jim. Anybody have any questions about AI? I'll send you some of the examples so you can see it, so you can get an idea. And so on Vimeo, you have to, how do you request? You have to singularly request each video that you process to send you a summary.
I don't know. Somehow, and I don't know. A couple of these just showed up in my email box with an AI summary, and I have to go back and kind of figure that out. But it's something that Vimeo is doing directly. The problem is we have very limited space on Vimeo where we post the link to the agenda and the timestamps. I think it's limited to 1,500 characters. So there's not a lot of room in there to put an AI summary. we may need to think about, Cecil, we may need to think about putting up some sort of text-based box elsewhere on the website. I don't know, because these are going to be pretty large files, even though they're a summary, I assume.
So we'll take a look at it. The summaries are they are a useful tool, particularly for a Board of Education meeting that lasts 3 hours, and you're looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
before we leave technology, I'm curious what is going on with YouTube.
In terms of the live.
Well, it specifically in terms of their restrictive policies about what we can show and what we can't show.
We got flagged, apparently, I think, for our live feed for adult content, and we we appealed. It was just a click here to appeal, and they rejected our appeal
3 times.
And I haven't.
No human ever looks at that.
I'm sure. Or the content. I mean, where's the adult content? I don't know what prompted this, but it hasn't in any way made it difficult for me to see my YouTube. Not difficult for me to see the YouTube live feed or the individual meetings feed. They're all accessible to me. I thought we might have to log in every time or do something different. I haven't had any problems since.
There's no problem if you're logged in. It's the problem
Okay.
is they require you to log in. If I don't know why the speaker thing isn't switching, so I got to go back to the gallery.
You're back in speaker view. I see you.
So maybe it's one of my settings. One of the ways that we solved it with another company that I work with, that they didn't know at the beginning, and they got 3 strikes in the first day, and they were out of business. You have to go in and change the URL, and then you can start over. So if we wanted to go around it, we could change the URL to Darien TV live feed. And you embed it in the link all the time anyway, so no one really ever sees what that link is to live.
Yeah.
But one of the things, Cecil, I want to talk to you about it first, about as a workaround of creating a new URL for Darien TV79 Live, and see if that gets us off probation. It might have been when the Warner Music, it may be a holdover from the Warner Music stuff where we got flagged, because nothing on demand has ever gotten flagged as adult content. And the only so the weekend content, the Darien Men's Association. I know there's a lot of adult programming at the Greenwich Men's Association and the Darien Men's Association. That's why there's 300 people there every week. But so I don't know what it had, unless it was something from the ancillary programming. I find it curious.
We got flagged. We got flagged for copyright music a couple of times, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I finally figured out what it was. It was one of the promos that one of the students made last summer, and it was using a piece of Dave Brubeck music. And I just removed it, told him to remix it, put in some non-copyright music, and it's gone away. The problem's gone away.
So you want to go into the budget?
Yeah. Well, we undercalculated a little bit on the budget this year. We blew through our budget before we hit the last month of the fiscal year. Fortunately, we have a substantial amount of money that we have been stockpiling from Area 9 that's specifically earmarked for camera operators. So we drew that down a little bit, I think, for the month of June, maybe to the tune of $1,000 or $1,200 or so. And there's still substantial money there that we're going to use in the new fiscal year, because we tried not to ask for more money this year than last. I'm going to just have to be a little more careful about how we spend it, given that there's a pay increase for people as well too. So we're starting the fiscal year well. We're awash in money. Check with me in May, and I'll let you know how it's looking in 2025.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an area that I'm completely oblivious to, but how could we use money more efficiently versus how have we not? I mean, to me, it's always been the more meetings we have, the more camera operators we need. You know, it just is what it is. It's never been a question of efficiencies.
Well, it's more a choice of what we decide to cover. Obviously, our mandate is to cover all the boards and commissions and meetings. But I'm trying to do more kind of community stuff as well too. But if I send a camera operator up to Tilly Pond for, summer nights in Darien, to cover, a band and a few people sitting around eating ice cream cones, that's going to cost me $60. Now it's going to cost me $70. And for 3 viewers, 5 views maybe on Vimeo, I'm just going to try to be a little more cost conscious about how I, pay for these shoots. The Darien Boat Club is doing its annual boat camp, where they take all these kids out on boats and they take them out onto the water and they take them over to Sheffield Island, et cetera, et cetera. We've covered that thing 4 times. And, I thought it'd be great because at least the people who, had boats and took kids out, they'd want to see what it looked like on TV. Bupkis. I mean, just nobody watching it. So I said to John Amarillos, who used to be a boater and is pretty tight with the boating community, I said, you want to have an afternoon on the water? It's available. It's yours to shoot, but it's going to be pro bono, man. You just go out there and enjoy yourself on the water. So I'm going to be trying a little more cautious. Yeah. I'm sorry, Carrie, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, would we qualify for grants from the Community Fund of Darien? Has that ever come up?
We received, how much was it, Mike? I think it was like about 35,000.
Yeah, for the cast of that would for the Darien Technology.
Yeah.
We don't fit for the community fund, I don't think.
No.
Because they're more health and human services.
They're nonprofits, and yeah.
But every time we've reached out to the Darien Technology Fund, they have been receptive. The good
which
news
is
is
exactly once. I think we've only gone to them once, but yeah, they paid for our Castus unit, and they're used to writing big checks. They write very big checks for Darien Athletic Foundation Media, DAF Media. But I'd rather wait and go to them when we have something more substantial than asking for a couple $1,000s for camera operators. As I say, I'm just kind of looking at the statement from the finance director, and I think we have unspent camera operator money in the range of $9,000-$10,000 that we've been receiving from Area 9 and not spending. So even if we lost all of our town funding, we'd be good for 6 months. But with the town funding and this reserve, we'll get through the year just fine.
Jim, sorry.
Go ahead.
Jim, if people, because I think, we serve the public good, meetings are obviously the bread and butter, but, if our goal is education and a certain cultural mission as well, can we foist some of that on the cultural entities? Can we say, hey, if you'd like us to broadcast it, here's what we would charge for a camera operator, or at first I was like, send us your video, but I'm guessing that's probably a bad idea. Something in that way that we could still get that cultural broadcasting, but maybe have someone else absorb the costs.
We could, but I don't. That's a dangerous precedent. I think it turns it into kind of a pay to play thing, because I don't want people coming to us saying, here's money, cover our event, and us not feeling that it's really the kind of event we want to cover. I mean, we do get all that stuff from Board of Ed. Board of Ed meetings are covered, and we just download them. We get all that stuff from the Darien Men's Association, the Greenwich Men's Association, the library. So we get a lot of programming from them as well too. But again, if you look at the stats from Vimeo, it's not a huge audience, guys. I mean, not a lot of people watching our content still. So I'm more concerned about trying to get them to watch what our real mandate is first, which is, government boards, commissions, advisory panels, and things like that. And I think anything we can do to facilitate that and encourage viewership there, I think will serve us well before we start trying to go out and cover, too many community events.
When I went on to Vimeo looking today to look for that AI component, I looked at the stats and saw that at least as of this month, 4/5 of the links to Vimeo are now coming from Darien TV79, and only 1/5 are coming from Vimeo. So the Darien TV79.com URL is sticking to create our brand name as opposed to necessarily Vimeo's brand name, and it's been a nice transition to make. On the AI, I might get in touch with, send you guys examples of different summaries of meetings, and I won't overload you, but send you one meeting and one summary so you watch the meeting and read the summary and say, yeah, this was good, or no, this wasn't good, or I got something out of it. Just the technology is so close. It seems like a lot of the summaries I'm seeing are the same. It really comes down to who'll accept the entire transcript at one time, and then churn out the bullets or the summaries. It is interesting to see the number of local news sites that are being set up in news deserts where they do AI summaries of public meetings, add the police report, and you've got a town website with 85% of the news that's going on in the town, when you've got all the Board of Education, all the town news, and what's happening in the police. You've got a pretty robust local news offering. Now with programmatic, can someone make money? Can they make $25,000-$30,000 a year doing that as kind of a passion project that they also get paid for? But it's interesting seeing the growth in the number of communities where someone has said, yeah, I'm going to do that, and see if they can make a living out of it. Does anyone else?
Mike,
Yes.
Tell me if this is out of place, me asking the question, but Jim mentioned the notion of cord cutting earlier, and I'm wondering whether long term that's got any potential impact on Area 9 funding.
Yes, it does, because Al, for your benefit, the Area 9 Cable Council acts as an intermediary for dispersing the money that is collected from all cable subscribers, as mandated by the FCC. I think it's about $5 a year if you subscribe to cable TV. And
It's 5%. It's 5% a year.
5%.
It's 5% of your video package. Monthly.
No, it can't be that high.
Look at your bill. Well, you don't have a bill. But
I don't get cable anymore. I cut the cord.
All right, I'll send you the rate,
Okay.
but it's 5% of the video package of everyone's bill.
Anyhow,
Per month.
the Area 9 Cable Council, on which I serve, and Mike serves, and David Deaver serves as representatives from Darien, receives this money from Altice and from Frontier, and then distributes that money to the individual towns, both on the educational station side and on the government side. And we receive in Darien about $9,000 a year, of which about $3,000 can be spent on camera operators. It used to be that the money could only be spent on technology. And I argued 5, 7, 10 years ago, we're buying too many toys and we don't have any camera operators to use them. So Area 9 is now allowing individual stations to take part of that money and be able to spend it on camera operators in addition to buying the technology. By the way, in our last grant, which I'm finally fulfilling, we are purchasing a third portable camera, some more microphones, some headphones, some chips, etc. Because I didn't want to leave money on the table. So what was your question? I've given you a primer on government funding.
are we going to run out of Area 9 money?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there risk for that funding?
Yes, I think there is, because if Altice keeps losing subscribers, that means that the PEG, Public Educational and Government Access Funding pool, is going to dry up somewhat. So I believe there is an effort in front of the legislature to recognize this new reality of cord cutting and its implications on funding of public educational and government stations, and translating that into more of a tax on high-speed internet connections, not just cable TV itself. I haven't heard anything about it in the status on the bills, but I think when we, if and when that sort of proposed legislation comes up, there will be a rather organized effort to make sure that lawmakers know what it is and why they should support it for their individual towns. We were actually afraid when Altice came in and purchased Cablevision. We were afraid that they were going to go away from the town-specific model of Area 9, in which we are, and model after Area 2, which is the other Cablevision franchise from Fairfield up to Bridgeport, where they don't have individual channels depending on where you live. In Darien, if you turn on channel 79 and you're an Altice subscriber, you will see Darien TV79. If you live in Bridgeport and you turn on channel 79, you might see a meeting from Orange one night and Fairfield the next night, and maybe something from Hamden, and you don't know when it's going to come up. So we were concerned that Altice was going to drop the town-specific model, and that meant we would lose town-specific funding, and it would all go to some great aggregating entity in the sky. But that did not happen. And I think so far, I mean, Mike, you go to a lot of Area 9 meetings. I think they like the town-specific model, and they're still giving Area 9 a couple $1,000s a year for student production awards. They have a contest every year for the best student-produced videos. None from Darien ever, by the way, because they don't teach video production in the high school. What? Yes, Dennis. Not your fault. Not your fault.
It's supply and demand. We previously broadcast.
You did, yeah, you did. But the kids that are interested in video are all working at DAF Media, which is fantastic, by the way, fantastic. Or they know how to edit video.
I mean, they want to be influencers.
Yeah, they're already on TikTok or something. So what do they need to teach in a classroom situation for? So. Yeah, I mean, to get back to there was a question in there from Cecil as I've rambled on. Yeah, there is a concern that we have. I think all government and educational access stations have this concern. If cord cutting continues, what is it going to mean to funding? And we're not heavily funded. I mean, there are towns upstate West Hartford and up in Massachusetts where they're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they've got full-time staff and bells and whistles and cappuccino machines in the booth. I don't know what else. We're using hand-me-down chairs, You
might be embellishing a little bit now.
I exaggerate.
But it is an issue. And I saw that Comcast in their annual report even lost broadband subscribers last quarter, which is not the right direction that they want to go. And I do hear more and more people in my neighborhood who have switched to Frontier. And we don't get any money, and we don't get any money from Frontier because they only offer broadband, and broadband is subject to the franchise fee. So, that it's a good question, Cecil. It is going to be an issue, and we have talked about as DAF goes to some advertising support in the next school year, and the banners around the high school, for advertising to try to find new revenues. Who knows? We may be doing a PBS type model to look for underwriters for, as a
fund drives, yay!
That's right.
Yeah, we can do a
Pledge drive.
fundraiser.
Let's do a pledge drive.
We can do a
Mike.
pledge drive. That's right.
Hour
Uh,
12 of our pledge drive, and I'm gonna threaten to show you that sewer commission meeting again if you don't start writing checks.
um, yeah, so naming rights. This hour is brought to you by.
That's right.
Does anyone else have any questions? So we'll keep you informed. I will reach out to you to test different AI summary models to see if you find value in the content. And then if we can find, if I can find a software that works, we can figure out how to way to make it available to residents. But first, figure out if we can get good summaries that are accurate, and figure out a method for someone to proof them, so something egregious doesn't get out by accident, because it is AI. So anyone else have anything? So our next meeting is, when's the next department heads meeting? We always schedule these on the day of Jim's department in October. So the next meeting is October. So Jim only has to prepare one packet of information for the Board of Selectmen and for us. But I believe our next meeting is in October. When we get geared up for the next meeting in the auditorium, I'll let you know, so you can at least it'll be up and running for the first RTM meeting, which is September, whatever that first month, the third Monday is in September. It's September 23rd. Probably will be the first time the auditorium with COVID still isn't used that often for meetings. It was unusual. Planning and zoning was in the auditorium, but 206 and 113 were both occupied. So if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
But I'm sorry,
Carrie.
Go
is
ahead.
there a fair use issue we were going to discuss, or is that already been discussed?
Which issue?
A fair use issue of a video that Mike sent
Oh,
you?
good point. I had that on the list and it didn't get transferred. The Jim, the woman who took out the clip of Jack at the RTM meeting, and so you want to give what your current point of view is?
So there is a member of the community who shall remain nameless at the moment. She's not a member of the RTM, but she has spoken at the RTM, and she has a rather active social media presence, and talks about a number of things in town. I don't need to go further than that, but one of the things that she has done is she's actually not edited clips out of our meetings, but actually taken her iPhone and taken videos of the part of the meeting that she wanted to comment on, and posted that along with commentary. Now we, with the exception of other media outlets, we have a rule that precludes use of edited excerpts from our meetings. Particularly political candidates, we don't want anybody, and this is the League of Women Voters rule as well too. We don't want anybody pulling sound bites out of a debate or candidates night and using it as part of a political campaign. We ran into some serious issues in use of stills as well too. I asked Wayne Fox, the town council, for an opinion on what is fair use, whether this person could do that, and I never heard back from him. His plate's far too full. I should, follow up with him. She's not been doing it recently because there's been no RTM meetings to go after, but she's been rather vociferous in her attacks on certain members of the RTM by name, and encouraged voters to vote the rascals out of office. My inclination at this point is just to let it be, just leave it alone. I think this particular person, if we lawyered up or tried to get her to stop using this material, would go to the nuclear option. I don't know what it would be. pictures of me in compromising positions with small farm. I don't know. But
Now you
she's-
know we got banned on YouTube.
That's right. Where do you see these pictures? Yeah. I don't think it's. I mean, I can see what she's doing, and in a way, I'm almost like, good. Maybe this will get us some more eyeballs to see this particular out of context quote in some context and find out what it was that so and so said at the meeting, etc. I think we should just let it be. I'm going to follow up with Wayne Fox and see if he has any opinions on whether this is fair use, and it may very well be. And then, we're opening up Pandora's box. Despite my efforts I watch closely when the Hearst newspapers or the Darionite or the Patch use pictures that are obviously stills from our coverage. I just want to make sure that they give us credit in there. CT Examiner as well too. And they've always been very good about that. If they don't remember immediately, they go back and they correct it. And Patch, God bless them, is even, include and CT Examiner are including links to the full meeting video as part of their coverage. You want to see the whole meeting? Here it is. Here's the link, et cetera, et cetera. So right now I'm at the point where, whatever gets them into the church to hear the sermon is fine with me, If it has to be, I was going to say titillating, but I don't think her posts are necessarily titillating. But I'm kind of aware of it, and I watch this particular person's posts closely. I think she's on vacation, but she'll be back. She'll have something else to say. I think she's running for RTM, so that'll make it interesting.
There haven't been any quote deep fakes where they've taken the video and she hasn't changed. She didn't change it at all. It was from the meeting. It just illustrated the point that she was making in her comments. And
she's not even downloading the video and trying to edit the video. I mean, she's literally taking her camera and taking a picture of that particular part of the meeting. It's like real, old school stuff. But, so thank you, Carrie. I think we'll just, keep an eye on that and let sleeping dogs lie.
We don't know anything about whether the only in the 141 district state representative, do you know if League of Women Voters are going to be planning on having a debate the seat currently held by Ms. Mara?
I have heard nothing from the League of Women Voters. I think it's early days. I mean, there's still a Republican primary coming up in August. But I imagine that the League will hopefully hold their annual candidates night. That's what we rely on, and people in town rely on, because they don't show up and watch these things in person in the auditorium. But I've heard nothing else since, and I'll, if I don't hear from them, I'm gonna track them down and ask them.
But in terms of our policy, as long as that the candidate is appearing on a regularly scheduled meeting, that person is perfectly able to attend. Right.
So if Tracy Mara is running for re-election as state rep from the district in Darien, and she attends the OPC, the Operations Planning Committee meeting, as she does all the time, we will cover that. If she should decide to hold a legislative briefing sponsored by the RTC, we don't cover those. We don't cover political events or events tied to political parties. But sure, if she's doing her job and conducting her business, we'll cover that meeting as usual.
Anybody else have any questions? Well, thank you very much. We've already finished voting for. Dennis, did we finish voting for adjournment and Carrie, or did you do it before we took the vote?
She jumped in just before we were going to take a vote.
So,
I'm sorry.
no,
that's thank you. I'm glad you asked it.
It was on the list, and I don't know what happened. It was important that you bring it up. So then, Jim, I think you made a motion.
Motion
Carrie,
to adjourn.
second.
Yep.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Now, hopefully, you'll be a member of our merry group by October. But thanks for joining us.
Good night, all.
See you later.
Good night.
Have a-